Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do something different. I'm going to challenge myself to design a fintech application screen in 10 minutes. That's the first version. And the second version, I will give myself a bit more time, so that's going to be 40 minutes. I'm super excited, super stoked. I've never done this before, so let's do this challenge. So I created this basic wireframe here to speed things up a little bit. We have some text and we have some icons. Obviously, I'm not going to design these icons because that would take so much time. So I just included them in the wireframe. So let's get started with the first version and put a timer here. First, I'm creating an artboard. We want to place a profile picture here. And I'm using this plugin Unsplash. So I'm just searching for a portrait image. That looks good. And I am copying the text here, and obviously we need to pick some font, and I'm changing the font, let's say to Montserrat. That's a pretty basic font, but I like it, so we're gonna use that for now. And I'm copying and pasting the menu icon as well. We need a credit card. Going with this purple, and I'm changing the direction. And for the text color, I'm changing it to white. And I want to add a bit of a drop shadow in the background. We are already 4 minutes in. Wow, time goes super fast. Let's copy these. And now the transactions, I'm just pasting as well and changing the font to Montserrat, and maybe this one I want to make it bigger and bold. And I want to create auto layout from this one, and putting auto layout on all of them. Changing the spacing mode to space between. So this way, if I resize this, it's going to stretch perfectly to the side. And I want to add the background for this one, white color. And I want to add the drop shadow as well. But for the padding, I'm going to change this to 12 and 12. And adding a corner radius as well. Maybe 12. And I'm just increasing the shadow blur to 12. And maybe 8. And this one I'm lowering to 16. And changing the icon. And I'm moving this up a little bit. And now we can start working with the menu. We have 1 minute to do this. And for this button, I'm just copying and pasting this color. Maybe increasing the width. Let's say we are at the home. So I'm detaching this gray color. And I just want to add a background. Okay, so this is what I was able to create in 10 minutes. Not that bad actually, but we can make this much better. Okay, so let's jump to the version 2. Let's start the timer, and since I have more time, I want to explore a bit with the colors and maybe some patterns, but we're gonna see what I'm going to come up with. So I'm just creating an artboard again, And instead of a circle, I think I want to use just a rectangle with some border radius. And we're gonna use the same girl. And I really like this darkish background, so maybe I am going to go with that, but first I want to pick some fonts. Okay, so finally I picked the font. I really like this Space Grotesque. I think it suits really well the fintech vibe, so I am going with this font, and let's see if it's going to be good or not. But for now I want to change the background for a darker color, and I'm going to pick something from here, and I'm going to change it a little bit, and the font I'm going to change it to white, obviously, because it was too dark. And we need the credit card details, so I just pasted the fonts, and I'm changing to Space Grotesque as well. And for the balance, again, I'm going with uppercase, and this one I'm changing to bold. And for this one I am actually, instead of a text, I want to use a logo. So let's just quickly search for a Visa logo. Just opening this in Illustrator and pasting back to Figma, and I'm changing all the colors to white. On this background card, actually I want to use this glass morphism effect. I want something in the background to spice things up a little bit, so I'm going to create an ellipse, and I'm putting some kind of blurred ellipses in the background, and I want to use this bluish magenta pinkish color. So let's just tweak it a little bit and find something that I like. Yeah, a bit more bluish. And I also want to add an effect to this ellipse, which is a layer blur, maybe 16. And I'm going to increase the background blur on this one to 32. And I also want to add a little effect on the edges. So I'm creating a stroke, which is going to be white, but also a gradient. And I'm lowering the opacity on this one because it's too strong. That already looks pretty good. I'm just fixing the paddings here. Okay, that looks great. And I'm going to duplicate this one. Maybe make this one a bit smaller. And this one I want to make it bigger, maybe adding a bit more blur. But I'm changing the gradient to a bit of the background color. So let's grab this. Okay, that looks great. And I want to create another one and blur the things out to blend these two ellipses to the background a little bit. So I'm just setting this to solid and grabbing the background and increasing the blur to 48, or maybe even bigger, like 80. Okay, that looks pretty good. I just want to play a little bit with the orientation of this gradient a bit. 10 minutes in already. And for this one, the profile picture, I want to add a drop shadow, but I'm creating the rectangle, adding a corner radius, and the fill is the background. And I'm adding an effect, again layer blur, and let's see if 16s work. And I'm just putting behind the profile picture to add a little bit of an effect to this profile picture as well. And this icon I'm changing to white, so it's more visible, and 24 pixels from the left. Okay, that looks good. And in this part, actually, I want to add a bit like a chart that we can see how much money we spend on each days on a week. So I'm just quickly going to create that. And I want to add chevrons as well, so the user can change the weeks, go back and go forth. And to display these slides, I am creating some columns. Okay, so now we have these lines. I want to create another one behind, but first of all I want to change the color of this one to our main color, and I'm going to duplicate this and create another one in the background, but that one is going to be filled. And the reason I'm creating this, because I think this is adds more interest to our screen, and it's also useful so the user can see how much money they spend on each days. So it's quite useful. I just want to indicate a selected state here, and I want to add the number, and the indicator is going to be blue, so it pops out from the screen. Color of the amount is the background color. I also want to add a drop shadow for this one, but I'm just going to duplicate this and adding an effect, a layer blur effect. I really like this color. It's a bit different from this one, this purple, so I'm going to change the background to this more magenta or pinkish color, but not on this one. This one I want to remain it a bit purple-ish, but on this one I want to change to magenta. Okay, we are 21 minutes in, so we have plenty of time to work on the recent transactions. Now we already have this chart, and I think it spiced up our screen a bit. So this looks great. I'm just going to modify the opacity on this one, maybe to 60%. I'm just going back and forth and checking what works best. And now we can start to create this one. So I'm copying everything here and pasting it back and setting the color to white. And remember, I was using space grotesque on this one, and the size is 16 and bold, since these are the main informations. And again, I'm just going to create auto layout and put everything inside. And for the padding, I'm using 16. Maybe that's a bit too much, but we are going to see. And I want to add the stroke, which is 2 pixels, and I'm grabbing a color somewhere from here. And we should not forget the little title that we need to include here. And I'm putting this to auto layout as well, just to make sure everything is correct. And I'm changing the color of the icon. Maybe it's a bit too much color, so I'm going to change the stroke on this card to white. Better for me. And I'm just duplicating it and pasting the other cards and the other icons here as well. Okay, so now that we have done with the recent transactions, I can move on to the menu, and I think this takes a lot of time, so let's just grab all these icons and start building the menu. I think for now I want to remove this and put it out of the frame and put this inside. I make the icons colors to white so we can see what's happening. And for the background, I'm creating a rectangle. And duplicating it and creating another one. Duplicate this back to the right side. And I'm just going to union selection this, and I want to add a pretty high corner radius, maybe 24. And I want to stretch everything out of the frame, and I want to move this one a little bit like this, and maybe stretch out of the frame as well. And I am just duplicating this one since it's easier, and putting on the left side. And now I want to exclude an ellipse in the bottom. So I'm just creating an ellipse. I'm selecting the union and the ellipse as well, and I am going to subtract it. And I am adding a corner radius again, maybe 16 or 24. And let's send this to the background and pick up a color from somewhere here, just for now. And first of all, let's make this one a bit bigger and add some width to these strokes. And here I want to use the same gradient, more or less, as here in the background. And for the stroke, I want to use round caps. And I want to add an effect around it. So I'm just duplicating this ellipse, increasing the size a bit and lowering the opacity to 40. And to this one, I want to add another effect, some drop shadow, and I'm picking the color from the background. And I am increasing the blur. And for the main background of the menu, I want to use a darker color, but a linear as well, linear gradient. And I also want to add a background blur to it. And duplicating this ellipse, pushing down here, setting to the back, because I want to indicate the first menu, that is the home, which we are currently in. So I want to add a little bit of blur behind this element. First of all, I am grabbing all of these icons out of the frame, and I am creating a 40 pixel wide rectangle, and I am putting everything to auto layout. I'm pasting it back, setting, and therefore our ellipse that was a subtraction is not in the middle as well. So I'm just quickly going to fix this issue here. And now for the menu, I am just stretching to the side, and I am adding maybe a 16 or 24 pixel padding to the left and the right. And this actually looks good. I just want to move behind this big button, the add button. And of course I want to delete the opacity of this one. Okay, I'm just going to move it a little bit up, and I'm going to center this one and make the first icon probably this highlighted area. This is a bit small, so I'm increasing the blur to 24. Okay, that looks better. And if it's not quite clear or visible what's selected, we can even put a little indicator here, just centering it to make sure everything is all right. And now we can put back the card frame. And maybe since we have some time, 4 minutes left or 3 minutes left, I want to create a drop shadow, but in a different way. I'm just going to draw something quickly here. Okay guys, so that's it. A little extra 25 or 30 minutes. We made this screen looks much more interesting, but we can do a few more things because we still have some time, actually 2 minutes or 1 minute. So I'm just going to search for some pattern on FreePic, and I want to paste that in the background. color to be white and again linear. And I just want to rotate it a bit and put it in the background. I'm just lowering the opacity and way better, and it actually matches this fintech look. This is the version 2. This is what I was creating in 40 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this challenge. It was really fun to do. It was really fun to work with the version 1 because the time was super tight there. It's just under 10 minutes. This one we had a bit more time, so we could tweak a bit more the colors and the patterns and overall the whole look of the app. So I hope you guys liked it. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. And please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And see you guys in the next one.